What is going on, New York Giants fans? D. Illa here. Wanted to make this video real quick. I wanted to throw out a trade scenario to you guys that could potentially get us to number one, to get us that first pick in the NFL draft. Now, I don't believe this is going to happen. I don't think this has any shot at all. You know, the Bears would actually have to retain Justin Fields. They'd have to sign him to a contract, and then they would have to trade for this player and then absorb his contract at the same time. And I just don't see that happening. They brought in a player like Montez Sweat last year, and I believe, I'm not sure exactly what they paid him, but I'm sure there's some kind of contract in the works, or a contract has already been done with Montez Sweat to keep him there for an extended period of time. So I don't necessarily see them trading for this player, but it's just something I want to throw out there. I mean, I have been outspoken about this player. This player is a two-time Pro Bowler for this team, back-to-back Pro Bowler for this team. A guy that I was never necessarily that big on the Giants drafting at 19 when they initially did it. I'm still not big on it to this day. Matter of fact, the guy that the Bears traded for last season, that's the guy that I wanted, because to me, he was a carbon copy of Julius Peppers. Now, is he as good as Julius Peppers? No, but he's 6'6", 275, and ran a 4.4 40. He looked like Julius Peppers to me. Had 12 and a half sacks last year and has been over 7 sacks twice in his career since he's come into the league. So he knows how to get to the quarterback. He gets in that backfield, man. He wreaks havoc, and quarterbacks have a very hard time getting away from this man, Montez Sweat. So what I'm proposing here, and I still think this trade is a little bit light to get up to 1 from 6. I don't even think this would necessarily be enough, but the fact that he is a two-time Pro Bowler, back-to-back Pro Bowler, maybe it would be enough. But would you trade Dexter Lawrence to get pick number 1 from the Chicago Bears? Would you do that? I know me personally, I would do it. I would do it because I have never been big on building a defensive line with your main piece being your nose tackle or defensive tackle. And that's why I've always been against the Dexter Lawrence pick to begin with. I've always liked pass rushers, the guys that rush from the outside. Those are the guys I've always expected my team, the New York Giants, to pay the money to. I'm not big on them paying big bucks to interior defensive linemen because I feel like you can get these players later on in drafts. And if you look at history, it will tell you the same. You don't have to spend big money on these interior guys. The game that just took place this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens featured a nose tackle in that game, Travis Jones. I know you remember seeing big number 98 in the middle of that Baltimore Ravens defensive line. He was a part of that defensive line that held Isaiah Pacheco to 31 yards in that second half. He was drafted in the 3rd round, pick number 76. Now, is he the pass rusher that Dexter Lawrence is? No. But he knows how to stuff the run, cause havoc to an opposing offensive line, and he's very good at containing the run. And to me, that's what I feel like a good nose tackle, defensive tackle should do. And you shouldn't have to pay an extravagant amount of money for these guys, unless they have extraordinary ability like an Aaron Donald. Travis Jones is 6'4", 338 pounds. Yeah, he doesn't have any issues holding up in the middle of that line. And again, round 3 pick number 76. That was in the 2022 draft. There was another guy that was taken in the 2022 draft. Plays for the Washington Commanders. Another good run stuffer. His name is John Ridgeway. He's 6'5", 321 pounds. Now, again, these guys don't have the pass rushing ability of a Dexter Lawrence, but they do what you need them to do, and you're not paying them an extravagant amount of money to do so. You're paying your money to the guys that are supposed to rush the passer, the guys that play on the outside, your defensive ends. John Ridgeway was a 5th round pick number 178. Go talk to some Commanders fans about John Ridgeway. Go watch some highlights of John Ridgeway. He's a strong player, man. Ain't nothing bad about John Ridgeway. I'd take him on this team for what he probably gets paid. I take him over the $90 million that we pay Dexter Lawrence. I know that. Because ultimately, Dexter Lawrence is going to get you 4 to maybe 7 sacks a season. And going back to that draft that he was drafted in, you look at a guy like Montez Sweat. He's a guy that could potentially top out anywhere from 13 to 14 sacks a season. And that's why I would always take a pass rusher over, a true pass rusher, over an interior defensive lineman, because their ceiling is that much higher. So what Dave Gettleman did then, and what he's always done in the past, has never made any sense to me. Never made any sense to me. I hated that pick when he made it, and I still hate it to this day. There's other guys, man. Alan McNeil from the Detroit Lions. That strong, defensive front that they have when it comes to stopping the run. That's one of the best run-stopping teams in the league. Has been all season long. With Hutchinson on that line also. Alan McNeil was a third-round pick number 72. He's 6'2", 315. He gets the job done inside. Carl Brooks, he was drafted in 2023 by the Green Bay Packers. He got them 4 sacks this season playing the inside. He was drafted in the 6th round, pick number 179. He's 6'3", 296. Not as big as Dexter, but he got you 4 sacks. Got the Packers 4 sacks. Was getting the job done. I'm telling you, man, you do not have to take interior guys that early in these drafts, man. There are good, solid guys that you can pick up in these later rounds. It happens year in and year out. And this is why I always talk about Dexter Lawrence and why I'm not necessarily the biggest Dexter Lawrence fan. I do think he's a good player, but is he worth... What is he going to be on the books for this year coming up? What is it? Probably like $17 or $18 million? I mean, you're probably going to lose Xavier McKinney because of Dexter Lawrence. And to me, man, I'd rather have Xavier McKinney on this team because I want to keep Pinnock and McKinney together along with Dane Belton. I'd like to keep those 3 safety pieces together and then build the secondary around them. And then try to get, a defensive tackle / nose tackle with a later round pick instead of devoting $90 million to that position. I get he had 7 sacks 2 years ago at this point. But man, how many more times in his career is he going to hit that 7-sack mark? I mean, to me, he's literally the same player Leonard Williams was. And there's a guy on here that has a soundbite that goes king of the almost sack. I mean, you might as well just transition that over to Dexter Lawrence because it's going to be more of the same with him. He gets a lot of QB hits, just like Leonard Williams did. But are they going to amount to sacks? Probably not. And that's the other thing, man. When you talk about a pure pass rusher, a guy that comes from the outside, when they get in that backfield, 9 times out of 10, they're not running. The quarterback is not running away from those guys. When Dexter Lawrence gets in the backfield and he gets close to that quarterback, the quarterback can normally skither away from Dexter Lawrence as long as he doesn't get his hands on him. Because he doesn't have that quick acceleration speed that, a pure pass rusher does that plays, your prototypical defensive end spot. And that's another reason why I would never pay an interior lineman, defensive tackle, nose tackle, that kind of money. But going back to us potentially trading Dexter Lawrence to get that number 1 pick, like I said, I think that's a little bit light. I don't know if that would necessarily be enough. You got to think at the same time, the Bears would have to pay Justin Fields, bring on Dexter Lawrence's salary, along with whatever they're paying Montez Sweat at this time. I don't know what their cap space situation is looking like at this point, but that would be 3 pretty hefty contracts right there. So just from that point, I don't think this would happen. But that's something I just wanted to throw out there to you guys and just kind of give my opinion on Dexter Lawrence. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but is he worth? Because he's definitely not a bad player. I mean, he's a 2-time Pro Bowler back-to-back. He's not a bad player. But would I ever build a defensive line around a defensive tackle / nose tackle? Hell no. Hell no. How many championships did the Tennessee Titans win when Albert Haynesworth was in his prime, wreaking havoc for that team year after year after year. But that's it for the video, you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm not telling you that you have to agree with everything I have to say. I'm not saying you have to agree with me at all. But that's how I feel about Dexter Lawrence. That's how I'm going to continue to feel about Dexter Lawrence. And I know the majority of you out there think I'm freaking nuts. But, I mean, that's just honestly the way I look at the player and the position that he plays. I just don't think it's a position that you need to devote a lot of money to, because I feel like there's always potential talent coming out in these drafts that you can get that can do almost as good of a job as Dexter Lawrence. I don't think they're necessarily that far off like some of these guys that you can draft late. They just don't necessarily supply the pass rush that he does. But if they can stuff the run and really control that line of scrimmage, that's what they're there to do. That's what they're there to do. And you don't have to pay them $90 million on a 3 or 4 year deal. That's it, you guys. Take it easy. Have a good day. Take care. Like and subscribe if you like the video. All right, that's it. Bye.